them grew up in Pineland. Couple of groupies to fit with. High over the groupies to fit with. High and you niggas get flying while you niggas get your kind of scooter to while you niggas flying. Your kind of scooter to jumping off the roof, no ceiling when I'm driving. Skyline view when I'm riding, no ceiling. Got a skyline view when I'm riding.
Gang. Once again, man, welcome back. I am back, man. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I have to reboot this goddamn live. That's what I have to do. I have to go reboot this motherfucker, right? Because all that glitchiness with the live, that killed me. I'll be hanging, man. You feel me? That internet glitchy shit is so fucking crazy. But anyway, due to the fact we are back, you understand what I'm saying? Due to the fact we are back, I had to jump back in this and let's see what's going on. Let's see what he's talking about, right? And while we do that, you know, we'll get a little bit of it. Hopefully this shit don't get the jumping around, skipping, you know, none of that fuck shit. Let me make sure anyway. All right, I have to make sure. Like I said, I know how it get real jumpy. Right. Let's do it though. Let's see what we got.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Any other subjects you want to cover?
Why don't you ask me about immigration? Because I know that's something that's disturbed you.
Well,
you know, here's the background, my kind of assumptions. During the last, I worked with, he had two issues. He had pesticides, which were a huge issue with him, and that's what I worked with him on. We're experiencing from pesticides. And the other issue he had was immigration. He wanted to shut down the border because he saw the way that it was impairing this huge influx of illegal migration across the border. It was impairing his ability to get to bargain, to leverage good wages and conditions for his workers.
I can feel what he's saying though, but at the end of the day, you feel me? I think a lot of us had other questions, you know, about the immigration law, because not just only the immigration law was wild, but you know what they were doing with the kids. You know how they separated the kids from the families, and you know, and then even to go even further, they put the movie out. They had the movie out where the kids was really missing their family. You know what I'm saying? They was really that was fucked up, gang. But you know, the only thing they could tell us was the parents was not supposed to be over here. You know, this, that, and the other. That don't give nobody the right to separate them from the kids, gang. Like the immigration law was kind of wild, and I think if they would have probably took matters a different way, then the immigration law would have been, you know what I'm saying, such more sustainable or such more understandable that everybody would have been able to, you know what I'm saying, not feel so bad, but understand, hey, yo, why this got to be, you know, done, why we got to make these changes and these arrangements. You understand what I'm saying? But that wasn't explained, you know, that wasn't explained. We was left to figure that out.
The Democratic Party was against immigration, and it was the Republican Party who wanted it because the big corporations wanted cheap labor. The Chamber of Commerce was firmly embedded in the Republican Party, and they were all about open borders. Today, the Chamber of Commerce is with the Democratic Party. And so it's one of these switches that is kind of inexplicable to me. But I think, again, it happened because President Trump said, I'm going to fix it with a wall. And that became, you know,
that wall fix. A lot of people was angry behind that wall. Hey, yo, look, he finna fix this motherfucker with everybody. You know what I'm saying? He finna fix this motherfucker with everybody money. He gonna fix it with the taxpayer money. And I think a lot of people, you know, they was angry behind that shit. They're like, hold on. We can't let him do this. We're not, you understand what I'm saying? We ain't finna take this. With that being said, I think a lot of people, they felt like, yo, we don't need the wall really. That's what they was yelling out at first. No, we don't need the wall. We don't want that wall. That motherfucker gonna cause a lot of problems. Cause issues, and you know, it is what it is. Like, it is fucking what it is. At that point, gang, it's like, yo, you either do or you don't. You know what I'm saying? You either do or you don't. At that point, you either do or you don't. And I think a lot of people, they like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. You know, if it's gonna keep. Once again, YouTube is assholes today, y'all. StreamYard, one of them, I don't know who doing it, but they are assholes. They are assholes. Anyway, let's get back to this vid, man. Let's get back to this vid. Thank you for the reboot, though, YouTube. StreamYard, whichever. It don't matter. Let's get back to this vid, man. Like I said, we got more information to touch up on. We got more shit to tap into. You know, we can't thank you to the internet. Internet ass. The internet is ass. The internet connection sucks, right? That's why I said, like, we need better connection, man. We need definitely better connection in this motherfucker. And I think that's another thing too. Every time a nigga go live, it's always a motherfucking problem. Every time, gang. I hate that shit. That's that shit I hate. Let's go.
Trump said, I'm going to fix it with the wall. And that became, you know, it suddenly became open borders, suddenly became a calling card for the Democratic Party. But there's a reason, you know, and I see it in my agency, the cost that it's imposing on our country and you know, on healthcare, diminishing healthcare for Americans and housing and jobs and all of these.
First off, housing suck. Housing and the job thing suck, gang. Like, y'all ain't really putting out no good jobs out there for nobody. I mean, if that's the case, the black people ain't got no. When it comes to black people, gang, they ain't got no jobs really out there for us. I'm talking about that shit so fishy and funny, it don't make no sense. It have you looking at it. If y'all really out here putting in work for us, then what's really taking place? What's really going on? You know what I'm saying? I be trying to figure that out my motherfucking self. Like, what jobs? Ain't no jobs. People getting laid off. And due to the fact people getting laid off, they getting laid off behind these robots, gang. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now they got to find other means and ways to make shit happen for themselves. That's the hardest part. You know what I'm saying? That's hard.
Place where it hurts that we need workers in here and we need legal immigrants in here, but they should come in legally, and every country has to do that. President Trump ran on this issue. He ran that he's going to enforce it and deport, particularly the bad people. This is what you don't hear. 70% of the people that they've arrested have criminal records. What the Democrats are always saying is, oh, only 14% of them have been convicted of a violent crime. Well, they've been convicted. A lot of them, the other ones, have been arrested and they just haven't been convicted yet because they jumped, you know, bail or they.
I mean, I can understand what he's saying. And we can even go farther than that because it's the same shit that take place up here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right, with black people, right? You know, a motherfucker be like, well, you got arrested. Even if you ain't been convicted of a lot of shit you done, you got arrested. And all those arrests still give them a reason, still give them some type of authoritative, say so to pressure you or put this title on you. You know what I'm saying? I never understood that, and I still don't. But like he said, with the Mexicans, it might be something different with them. The motherfuckers that's coming overseas illegally, it might be something different. I never know. I don't never know. I don't want to find out either, but I know that from what we've been seeing, he's giving us a little bit of explanation about how this shit is all taking place and what's really going down out here.
They jumped their warrants. The other 30%, a lot of them are gang members. When they go looking for an immigrant, they're not just randomly searching, restaurants. They're going after particular people who they've gotten their names from local law enforcement and from others. During the during the Obama administration, President Obama deported more people than President Trump did, the most in history.
He said
nobody cared. During the Obama administration, President Obama deported more people than President Trump did. The most.
Well, shit, if he deported more people than President Trump did, maybe that was a good thing at the end of the day. Because you got to look at it like this: if Trump was going to be doing the same shit, and which is, that's what's taking place, maybe that was what was needed to be done at that moment. Maybe he probably couldn't do all of it. Maybe he was some type of pressure. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, yo, you got to get these motherfuckers out of here. You got to deport them because they fucking up our country. They coming over here. They killing motherfuckers. They got records. Some of them is running. They got murder on their name. You understand what I'm saying? And I think, like, damn, okay, we get it. But who was supposed to be the motherfucker to deport these people all over there? Who was supposed to be the man, one in order and in charge for that? Who? Who we pointing the finger and the blame on? Who we pointing the finger and the blame on? Because y'all know America love to point that finger and that blame. But like he said, they wasn't mad when Obama did it, but now they mad when Trump doing it. Well, did Obama do it the same way Trump did it? Did he separate the kids when he did it? Did he take the kids from the parents and put them in a fucking camp too? You know what I'm saying? Did he? It's a different ballgame.
In history, nobody cared. And there were 76 people shot during that process, during the Biden administration. None of it made headlines. About half of those people were killed. None of it made the news. Now, because it's Trump doing it, you have the entire Democratic Party and the media establishment saying, oh, look at the horrible things. He's a dictator, but he's doing what he promised to do to the American people.
He almost right. Almost. But my thing is this. If what he's saying is true, if nobody cared, we don't know who really cared then at that moment. You understand what I'm saying? Like you said, with the people that we felt was convicted, highly convicted, and we felt like, well, America felt like, hey, yo, they got a record. You know what I'm saying? They've been convicted, send them back over there, send them back across the border. At the end of the day, the people who knew about Obama deporting people, you think, they didn't feel no type of way? They probably did. They probably just didn't speak on it. Y'all probably just ain't record that down. A lot of information, though, back then when Obama was in, y'all wasn't marking that shit down. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be real with you. A lot of people who was doing all that, they made him pass that law for the LGBTQ community. But at the end of the day, all the good shit that was taking place, they didn't want to mark it down. They didn't even want to get that nigga his credit. So I think he just, of course, he dick riding. He dick riding Trump right now. He dick riding Trump. He don't want nobody to hop on his ass. He already know his background history. You feel me? He got a history. His family got a history. They don't white tap their ass out. So of course he's gonna be saying what he's saying, nigga. He don't want Trump to throw them under the bus. Stop playing.
It's very disturbing watching what you see on TV. The thing that makes it most disturbing is
it ain't just disturbing. That shit is inhumane. That shit is deep. That's devilish. You got whistleblowers who's speaking out about this shit that's going on. Like, it's just not. He said that's not right to see it on TV, man. That shit bogus. You gotta look. Don't get it twisted. The motherfuckers who up here doing shit, who fucking it up for everybody else, don't get it twisted. Yeah, deport their ass. Get them out of here. Get rid of them. Bye-bye. You understand what I'm saying? But everybody else who they trying to live, you see them working hard. Half of them motherfuckers, they helped build this motherfucker. Half of them people that y'all deporting and getting out of here, they helped build half of this shit. So, of course they gonna be mad, gang. Now, like I said, I understand all the motherfuckers who killing people and doing shit. They harming motherfuckers, they taking lives, they fraud and they using people's name. I can understand that. I can get that, gang. I definitely get that. But that don't mean you gotta take the kids. That don't mean you gotta do, you know what I'm saying? You separating families and shit. That don't, come on, man, make this shit make sense, man. Make this shit make sense. This why they on his ass about this shit.
Because there's so much interaction with protesters.
But then he say, hold on, wait, y'all. Let me pause it again. He say, when Obama did it, didn't nobody snap. Well, Obama ain't separate kids from people he was deporting when he did it. You understand what I'm saying? When he separated these people and was deporting motherfuckers from coming over here illegally, he didn't say, look, I'm going to take your kids. You'll never see them again. You don't do that. But carry on.
Which is weird that the Democrats are telling protesters to go out there and stop law enforcement from doing its job. That's not how protests usually work. If you don't like U.S. drug policy, which you don't, and a lot of people don't like the war on drugs at all. They think it's counterproductive. You wouldn't.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, shit, the drugs y'all feeding people got them counterproductive, gang. The drugs y'all feeding people is killing them. Every drug that y'all dish out got a side effect. And the side effect kills you. If you were crazy, the side effect do more than what the drug's supposed to do for you. The side effect do more harm than the drug do good. Make that shit make sense. Hey, you hear me?
Send people to try and interfere with people who are arresting a drug dealer. And when you have thousands and thousands of people doing that, there's going to be thousands of interactions, and some of those are going to end badly because you have armed people doing dangerous things. And when you have crowds doing that, it's going to blow up. And so,
it already blew up. You got the owner of the healthcare place got killed. That shit must have blew up hard because shit. Now that nigga mad. You hear me? The nigga who killed him, he mad. But check this, dog. I want to know how in the fuck was he able to file for not guilty or not guilty plea? Make that shit make sense. You hear me? Make it make sense. I want to understand.
I see this, nobody is happy with the way that things have looked, particularly in Minnesota. But a lot of it is because of this capacity of the press to take Trump derangement syndrome and amplify it into public outrage and set up as.
This the thing though, man. What took place in Minnesota had no reason or business, popping off like that. They had no purpose of that happening, gang. I ain't gonna lie. Like, can I get a hand clap? Because at the end of the day, some of that shit that took place up there in Minnesota was set and it was staged to take place. I don't know if some of y'all know. I definitely know. If you're a reader, if you're a studier of any fucking type of field, nigga, you paid attention, just like with the Venezuela situation. You understand what I'm saying? It don't take a rocket scientist to know that. It don't. Let's jump. Now, I ain't saying he wrong with what he's saying. What I'm saying is just pay attention, listen in detail, because this nigga do get paid to be the position he in, to be the politician he is. So, you know what I'm saying?
Situation. I mean, if you're a dad, I wouldn't send my kids out to interfere with a law enforcement operation. There's other ways to protest. So I think that, I think now they're pulling out of Minnesota. They're going to do this, in other states where they're not going to get that kind of crowd interaction.
And that's crazy because they pulling out of Minnesota. What, after they done kill motherfuckers, gang? Like, after they done kill lives, they pulling out now? You know what I'm saying? Was that the job order? Was that the procedure of the job to pull out after y'all take a couple lives? Let me know. I'm just trying to make sense of this shit, y'all. I'm just trying to make sense of it.
But a lot of the people that they're arresting are not, they're people who are actually, have, like I said, 70% have had criminal records.
Yeah, we've actually covered that here. And then there's also the issue that this is the first time in history that the border has been wide open for 4 years. It's a different thing. It's a different thing when you have at least 10 million people They don't even know how many for real.
Yeah, it could be 20 million.
They don't know. And
They don't
that's a
know.
lot. And to have that happen all at once is pretty crazy. What disturbs people is, again, obviously these violent interactions. What should disturb them is that these are not organic protests. So these protests are organized and paid for. And that's crazy.
Right.
When you find that out and you find out that people.
Y'all heard him. These are not regular protesters. They are organized and paid for. I'll be tired of telling motherfuckers that these people stage this shit. They are staging this shit. These protesters are organized and paid for. They are paid for because motherfuckers got another hidden agenda. Those of y'all that don't understand, you will forever be lost trying to question another motherfucker who really knows what they're talking about and popping. Because like I said, I wasn't just the only person talking about it. It was a lot of motherfuckers all over social media. Now you got Joe Rogan talking. You hear me?
People can actually be paid to protest, and that they provide them with signs. They tell them what they do. It's organized. They have signal chats. There's been a lot of people online talking about being paid to protest in certain places, and that's kind of insane that that's even legal, that you can organize a mob and pay them to go and make a bunch of noise.
It's like the color revolution.
Right,
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that it happened.
They're doing it here.
Just happened to take place in the place where hundreds of millions of dollars of fraud was being exposed. So then the narrative completely shifts away from the fraud and onto this unnecessary violence with ICE. And then there's the natural thing that people have, this distrust of people wearing masks. They don't like that. They don't like officers wearing masks.
Now that's deep. I gotta pause that right there, right? I gotta pause that because officers wearing masks is deep. It's the same thing like when they tell us, yo, don't walk in our establishment with a mask on. You feel me? You might kill us. Like, huh? Don't walk in there with what? Look, at the end of the day, look, I came here to spend money with you. You're the one that created that mask shit. You feel me? I came to spend money with y'all. I came to your establishment to do this, do that. But they'll tell you, don't wear no mask. Now, when it comes to authority, they got the ICE people out there in masks. I'm talking about going crazy on people, killing motherfuckers and all type of shit. Gang. We got to respect that. What type of life we living in and why?
You have to wear masks because they're being doxxed and their families are being threatened, and you're filming everything they do, and you're these organized instigators. So if it wasn't for organized protest, I wonder if
he on to something, man. Organized instigators. Let me turn that back.
Would have even happened? Would have even taken place? And I know you're saying that they're targeting specific people. They're going after bad people. But also they're showing up at Home Depot and just grabbing people too. And
they're showing up at Home Depot and just grabbing people. I think a lot of people do got a problem with that, gang. Y'all popping up any motherfucker we're doing. Listen, like in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, they was up the road, gang. They was all downtown. They in Brown Deer. They in West Allen. Now I don't need a hand clap for that one. Yeah, they having lunch. I'm talking about literally, and that shit's scary. It's so scary that they will voluntarily do this shit to scare people. They will voluntarily throw these motherfucking masqueraded ass parties, lunch parties to throw people off. You feel me? To have people running, have people panicking. They know goddamn well everybody in the city is worrying about these motherfuckers. Definitely if you a Venezuelan motherfucker who don't speak no English, goddamn, and then you feel me, just moved up here in the hood or something. Make it make sense, man. And they think we fools, gang. Come on now.
Trying to find out if someone is a bad guy or a good guy. So there's probably a lot of people that are just people that got duped into coming to this country thinking they're going to be welcomed, and then they come over here and they're trying to get jobs, and now they're getting arrested and deported. It wasn't their fault that they were encouraged and brought into this country, but they did break the law. And I understand that perspective. But
we all understand that, but I'm gonna tell you something. That's just like a bait. They baiting the motherfucker. That's all they doing. They bait you. Once they bait you, they got you. And that's the purpose. That's the purpose for the game. And I think that's what them people fell into. And I hear what Joe Rogan saying. I feel for him too. Because at the end of the day, they was duped into coming over here, gang. You know, I don't give a fuck how you look at it, how you call it. They got us angry for nothing. See, we the people that'll follow everything they saying. We the people that'll be like, yeah, they right. They totally correct. At the end of the day, they know what they talking about. No, the fuck they don't. They sound like fools. Pure fools like the rest of them and everybody else who fools out there. Like I said, when motherfuckers didn't believe them Epstein files, you had to been a dummy. I knew you was a dummy living under the rock. Like when Joe Rogan started stepping on shit like that, that's when you knew it was serious. Like, wait, something gotta be cracking.
It's kind of insane that no one is pointing the blame at the fact that they let at least 10 billion people, or 10 million, people into this country over the last 4 years. At least being charitable. Or 10. I understand that perspective.
Listen,
but it's kind of insane that no one is pointing the blame at the fact that they let at least 10 billion people, or 10 million, people into this country over the last 4 years. At least being charitable.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts.
And I was down at the border.
That's beyond nuts, man. If you ask me, that's beyond nuts that they allowed that many people in, and now y'all coming. That's the same way y'all did with the drug game. That's the same way y'all did with the guns. That's the same way y'all did with anything. Y'all do that in the hood right now today. Y'all good with doing that. Y'all allow something to move into our neighborhood, and at the end of the day, another way for y'all to jail. Another bait way for y'all to continue to make money off our black ass. That's another bait way for y'all to keep tricking us into doing whatever it is that you want us to do. Just like the schooling, just like paying for school, just like student loans, just like the doctor bills, just like everything else, gang. Make it make sense, man. If it don't make sense, it don't make nothing. You understand?
And I was during my presidential campaign, I went down there, and I went down a bunch of times, but the first night I went down there to Tucson, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was like the Boston Marathon, the beginning of it, just the sheer number. And they were, they all had it planned. The cartels were all, running the whole thing. They were advertising.
The cartels was running the whole thing. Look, we just heard about the fucking cartel threatening the fucking Mexican mayor. That ain't scary. I don't know what to tell you is, because at the end of the day, if the mayor is able to be threatened by, the cartel, some people that posted got shut down a while ago, then something really ain't right. You understand what I'm saying? We really got our eyes being shut. We really paying attention to too much TV around here. And not enough attention to what's going on in our country, yet alone right next door to us, yet alone in the schools, yet alone with the programs that's been found to be involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Make it make sense, y'all. Make that shit make sense. Hopefully these people do.
All over the world and bringing people in, and everybody was if the Border Patrol was completely demoralized. They were told, don't arrest anybody, just fingerprint them. If they're a criminal, turn them back. But, most of these people, they couldn't figure that out. And
he said, don't arrest nobody, fingerprint them if they criminal, and turn them back. That right there alone sound fishy, gang. If you niggas deporting them, why the fuck would make it make sense? I'm gonna keep listening.
Why is put them on a bus or a plane to anywhere they wanted to go in the country? So it was just.
And at the same time, you have legitimate people that are doing it the right way that have to go through a long and difficult, lengthy process to attain citizenship and to come here, or get a green card and come here.
The whole thing was crazy. And that, one of the complicated issues that you have now, a bunch of sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. And it used to be that if somebody who was an illegal immigrant was arrested for a crime and put in the local jail, ICE was notified. So ICE would then come, and local law enforcement would transfer to ICE. In the sanctuary cities, they don't do that. They just let them go. And, it's not.
How is that legal? That seems insane. That seems like it's a violation.
It was never a law. It was just a policy when, the law enforcement always cooperated with each other. Now, because Trump's in there, they're saying, okay, we would rather take the side of a criminal than take the side of the president. So they're choosing sides. And it's like the other day during the State of the Union speech, when President Trump said, he was talking about immigration, and he said, please stand up if you think that law enforcement should protect the American people over illegal immigrants, and not a single Democrat.
Wait. If that's the case, then shouldn't they be doing that, y'all? If you ask me, law enforcement killing the shit out of people. And illegal immigrants. They killing the shit out of everybody. And you know, last I checked, motherfuckers was saying everybody over here is basically illegal aliens. We all immigrants then. If you leave it up to them, we are all immigrants. This they shit. So, but to protect us, man, shit, you show me where they've been protecting us. It didn't save a motherfucker out of a burning house, out of a car too. You understand what I'm saying? But nigga, they killing us right back to back. If he talking about protect the white people, then that's different. The white people, boy, we getting fucked up. We getting fucked up. Everything else he said before then, no one gave a fuck about. You know, shout out to you, Robert Kennedy, but no one listen. You understand what I'm saying? People are already against you because you're against, you with the man who breaking the system, and everybody against the man who breaking the system. But then for the people who with him, they like fuck everybody else. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's a different ball game. That's a ball game that a lot of people wouldn't want to jingle on. But anyway, like I said, man, I want to move on. I want to move forward to this Terrence Howard scene, and Terrence Howard, shout out to Terrence Howard, amazing movie actor, Empire, from Hustle and Flow, from Shirley. The guy's amazing, but at the end of the day, I got to give more flowers on the other fields of life he's amazing in. We have to give him more flowers. So, I got to dive into something else. I want everybody to check out, gang. You got to peep it, pay attention, man. Check it out.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
How did you get started with all this?
I didn't come into this world the way everybody else does, I don't think. I used to think that everybody had the similar experience, but like if I asked you, what was your first memory in life? What would it be?
I don't think I know.
My first memory was almost like when you're dreaming and you're falling and you hit the bottom and you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first memory, but I didn't wake up here. I was inside my mother's womb. And I was about maybe 6 months inside the womb. And I'm like, okay, don't forget I'm here. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't forget. You go to sleep. Wake up again. Now something's moving in front of you. And you're like, oh, that's my friend. But I had a different name for it. I didn't know it was my hand. But I knew I had a title for it. Go back to sleep, all of those things. Then ultimately you get ready to come out. I remember all of that.
You remember coming out?
Remember being compressed.
Well, he said he remember coming out. He remember coming out the womb. He just said he remember all that. He remember coming out the womb. That's scary. You ask me, like, shit. I mean, it ain't scary in the sense, but you remember coming out your mama womb. You got a good, excellent memory. You feel me? You got one hell of a memory. And, I don't think nobody really can say you wrong. Can't nobody really tell this man he wrong. I can't because, nigga, I wasn't there with you in the womb. You understand what I'm saying? But I had that type of knowledge, that understanding of where you come from and how you landed here. Because I'm going to ask you something. Do y'all remember where y'all came from? Hell no. You don't. I don't either.
And this, you want to panic, but you're flooded with like some serotonin and dopamine to where you feel relaxed. You go right back to sleep. You remember being born. I remember being circumcised. I remember the whole nine, and the proof of
he remember being born. He remember being circumcised. My God. That man deep. That's a different level that ain't nobody on right now. You understand what I'm saying? peep what frequency he flowing on.
Was when my wife Mira, that you just met, when she was 6 months pregnant with my son Kieran, I wanted to prove to her what I was talking about. So I put a light on her stomach every day at 6 o'clock at night. And I would move that light back and forth, and I'd put a song on for a week straight. On Saturday, after a week, I didn't put the light there, and I didn't do the music. And
so he said he put a song on his, you know, his wife's stomach when the baby was inside, and you know, he put the light and he played it for a week. On a Saturday, he didn't put that light in that song there. You know, and I wonder, what did that do? You know, I want to know what that did. No, y'all did.
Pushed up on her stomach. And then when I put the light there, he started following the light. And for the next 2 months, we did this every night, and he would go all the way around her belly, back and forth, always pushing on it. You know, I didn't understand at the time.
He said he pushed up on the belly for the light again. He pushed up on the belly for the light. If that's not freaking nobody out, that's freaking me out. It grabbed me right there by the horns, because honestly, to be able to do something like that, gang, you got to know something other than what we regularly know about life. You got to know something. You got to be one of those studiers. You got to be one of those, like, those guru guys. You got to be one of those, you feel me, or Hermetis guys that study this type of emotional, intuitive power. You know, and the only reason I say that is because no regular average human walk around talking about, look, I remember from birth, I remember putting a light on my wife's stomach when she was pregnant and my baby seeing it. Nobody that I know speak like this, gang. You know, I wonder, you know, where did he get his knowledge from? You know, I think he gonna bust that down. We gotta watch, because like I said, this is some of the shit that don't get talked about in the hood. This some shit that don't get talked about at your dinner table. This some shit that you ain't gonna hear about in your classroom, at your job, nowhere. You feel me? So once again,
that maybe I've interfered with the development process, and maybe he's wrapped the cord around his neck. I shouldn't have done all of this, but it came out wonderful and fine. And this little boy, first thing he wanted to do is see light. He loved lights from that early stage. And I can ask him the square root of 2, the square root of 5, the square root of that, the square root of pi, and he will run it off. But he's just like, his personality is like Forrest Gump. You know?
Personality like Forrest Gump, man. Shout out to him, man. Shout out to Ken Power, man. You know, to have a genius child like that, like he said, the moment the child came out, you know, the child was so smart. The child knew square root of this, he knew this, he knew that. You know, it's not many of us, you know, definitely not Black people or people of color, you know, who can really say things like this and brag. And that's something to brag on. That's something you want to brag on. You want to brag on your kid being a goddamn genius. At least that's what I was doing. I'm not trying to brag on my kid killing people out there. My kid dressed up like this. You feel me? They flattened. I don't give a fuck about that. What I care about is, like he said, he wants the kid to be a genius. It's because it's geniuses all around us right now. You want to fit with Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. It's people who got genius, they got genius gene in them, and they are able to create things. They are able to create infrastructures, systems. They are able to create. And, you know, when they create, it allows others to be able to create. It opened doors for others to have room to create. I like the way he feels, man. You understand what I'm saying? I love that. I love that.
To where he's just loving and wants everybody to be around him and care. But for me, that's where it started, in there. And then when I was about 5 years old, I had another dream. And the room filled up with like this fluid, a dark fluid. And I could see the ripples of it moving around. And there was a being there. And I remember being...
Right, he said a being. He said it was a being there. You hear me? A being? of some other sort, not human. You know what I'm saying?
Walked through that fluid with him, and I was trying to look up at him, and I couldn't turn my head to look at him. And he had his hand straight. I knew his voice, but I did not know who it was, but I felt confident and comfortable. And as we moved
Hey, yeah,
along,
look at this shirt. I just peeped that. Square root of 2 equals, he wore the shirt. He got the shirt. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Terrence Howard because he is confident in what he believes in. I love black people that's confident in themselves and what they believe in. They stand on it. You hear me? So shout out to him again. Gotta give him this flower. Let's represent one-on-one.
this dark blue fluid path with like chartreuse covering the, you know, when you look into a pool and you see the ripples, and if you're at the bottom of the pool, you see the ripples overlapping. That's what it looked like. And then when we got to the end of it, he said to me, if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? Now, we were really poor. My dad had just gotten out of prison.
And he said the being in his dream said to him, if you can have anything in the world, what would it be? Let me ask y'all something. If you had a dream and a being came to you in that dream, you know, and they walked you down this path that he just described, and they asked you, you know, if you can have anything in the world, young one, whoever you may be, a girl or a boy, what would it be? What would you say? Let's figure out what he said.
You know, for manslaughter.
His pops, he said they was very poor. His dad just got out of prison for manslaughter. You understand what I'm saying? So as a young kid, you know, your life is in turmoil at that moment. Definitely when you witnessing all of that, you know, that drama, that negativity that's fluctuating around you. Your dad got out of prison, you know, probably been locked up half your life, so you don't got your father. You understand what I'm saying? You know, we all probably deal with the family, you wouldn't know what that feel like. Y'all poor, for those of y'all that grew up poor, you also wouldn't know what that feel like. You know, not poor, you wouldn't know what that feel like. But some of y'all that's not poor with silver spoon in your mouth, you want to act like you poor. Some of y'all act like you know what that feel like. That's probably why I said that. I know a lot of people who like that movie ATL when T.I. figured out old girl father was rich. When he figured out, oh, old girl daddy got money, but she was coming to school acting broke as hell because she had broke friends. She had people that she felt bad for, and she was coming to school. She was acting just like them. She'd take her earrings out. You feel me? Like it's people right now today that act like that. And believe it or not. Yeah, they act like that. They put on that whole look. I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nothing at all. You understand what I'm saying? So we gotta understand. Gang, y'all know how that shit go. Of course, it be hateration around. The internet fuck up every time. I just got through saying that. I said, boy, if that ain't hating, I know what it is. There gotta be that universal hate. But I love it because that's how I know I'm doing something correct. You feel me? When I get to dropping like that, I'm doing something correct. You understand what I'm saying? At the end of the day, God damn it, at the end of the day, I think though, Terrence Howard, he has some goddamn interesting pieces of information he was digging into that he discussed. And he also told everybody, like, look, they gave him the patents. They wanted to hate on him and, wanted to stop him from doing his patents and creating and talking about the science that he had discovered. And like, gang, this shit hit different. Definitely when he proved it to him and then they gave him the patents, the shit was crazy. Of course. So, that's why I said, like, man, a lot of that shit, be staged, man. A lot of that shit be staged. We jumping right back into it for what you heard. And hopefully we won't see none of that.
24. Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible.
Pay attention to make sure we understand.
He said to me, if you could have anything in the world,
What would it be? What would it be?
what would it be? Now, we were really poor. My dad had just gotten out of prison. The ripples, and if you're at the bottom of the pool, you'll see the ripples overlapping. That's what it looked like. And then when we got to the end of it, he said to me, if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? Now, we were really poor. My dad had just gotten out of prison, for manslaughter. I didn't have much, but I said to him, I want to know how everything works. And at that moment, he used his left hand and he opened up the door. And there was this.
That's a good question to ask him, though. I want to know how everything works. I just want to know how. Let me tell you something, young blood. Young dog, let me tell you something. That'll blow me out the water. I'll be like, damn. You feel me? Like, damn, this. But check it out, though.
Mansion, big brown doors. And inside of it was this crystalline flowers, big crystalline flowers, like a giant, like 5 feet across. And every time I tried to see his face, he would reach in and hand me another shape. And I was so fascinated with the shapes because they didn't look like the platonic solids. They didn't look like anything I'd ever seen before. And he would hand me these shapes, and each shape was different and amazing. And I woke up from that dream. But after that moment, anytime something strange would happen in a dream, I had the powers of inception. Anytime I would be naked at school, I would say, I'm not naked. I must be dreaming. And immediately I would run out of the school or run out of where I was.
Different, the power of inception in a dream is something different. I heard too many people time after time again, they tell me, hey, look, I know how to, I can control my dream. I can do this in my dream. I can do that in my dream. And at the end of the day, you feel me? I be trying to figure it out. Like, how the fuck can you do that shit? How? How in the hell can you do that? That's different. And I think that's a powerful, power to have. Definitely in your dream. Like, if you can control that shit, you can fundamentally control everything around you in your dream. That is something powerful. You understand me? So, like, damn, that's different.
Where I was, and I would find that mansion again, and I had access to all the knowledge. The proof of it is the 97 patents that I have now. The proof of it is the industries that I've innovated. It's like waking up, having a dream that you have a diamond in your hand, and out of nowhere, you wake up and you're hoping you're holding it, and you try and hold it, and it's gone when you wake up. But the proof is all the stuff that I've been able to do. now.
So all these thoughts are from the time you were a baby. These are not things that you've learned. These are things that you had in your mind from the time you were born.
From
It's different.
You're watching this
Pivotal.
Monday.com.
Let a motherfucker know right out the gate. Look, these are things I was able to do as a child. These are things I was able to do as a youngin', a mirror. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, gang. Imagine if you had those abilities.
that time, because I remembered that I had been someplace else before. Now, what's interesting, that voice that I heard, that's my voice now. So it was like my greater self
So basically,
was leading me through. And
so basically, he said the voice he heard then in his dream when he said it was a being there, that was his self now, his higher self. Have y'all ever heard a motherfucker tell y'all that? Like, you ain't never heard a motherfucker just pop up to you like, look, my higher self has been talking to me. They've been, giving me information. They've been popping it to me. I ain't gonna lie. I heard it from motherfuckers like him, people who got the knowledge, to drill it to you and have you understand it. Definitely if they can explain it in a way that you can understand. When they can't, something ain't right.
periodically would show up again in other dreams. And I went off and became an actor because my mother wanted my little brother to be an actor. And I thought if I became an actor, I would get my mother's affection. It wasn't until my mother was dying and I'm talking to her. And she told me the reason that she was babying Antonio was because he had asthma. And my father always had questioned whether it was his son or not because he looked so much like her family and didn't look so much like him. And I realized, my God, if I had followed my proper course, I could have saved my mother because the knowledge that I had, I had the grand unified field equation.
Right.
I had already put that together. And then at 7, 8, I was working with these things and all of the hell that I had to go through.
And then